Hello there everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you very much for joining me today. Now today's video on Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia is a should you pull video considering Jack's banner, which will contain Jack being a brand new character, very high damage dealer. We've got a lot to look into when it comes to him, as well as Ramza's EX realization, which is actually a very interesting one to look at. So if you want to have a look at the event itself, if you want to know what kind of characters are going to work for it, if you don't necessarily want to pull for this banner, so non-synergy characters will work, some general strategy for the event, as well as a deep dive into Jack's kit, what we get out of Ramza with his realization, as well as a few other bits, then stay tuned and keep on watching. As always everyone, don't forget to check out all of the social media links in the description box below, including Twitter, Twitch, Patreon and Discord. Twitch we've actually been doing really well recently. Like, we've had so many people come up and support the channel, and I cannot thank you all enough for it. Of course, I'll be streaming this event and every event as it comes live. Obviously next week we don't have an awful lot of information on what's coming out just yet, so Monday hopefully we'll have some information, and I will definitely be streaming on Tuesday morning, as it's actually my 32nd birthday. So for those of you who didn't know how old I was, now you know. And anyways, with Patreon, of course, I give a shout out to any one of my random patrons to say thank you very much for supporting the channel further. And today that person is going to be Moonsinger, who has actually been a supporter of mine for quite some time. So thank you ever so much for your love and your support. And of course, don't forget to check out Dissidia DB, Dissidia Info, Tombury Troop, all the websites that are relating to Opera Omnia, as well as all of the other content creators for the game as well, because we all love your support just as much as me. So first things first, we're going to have a look at the event itself that comes alongside Jack's banner. And with this particular fight, we're going to be facing off, in the Chaos version at least, against Krakens and Flutterjellies. So there are two bosses in each wave, so you're going to want to bring some AoE damage, because that is what Jack's primary role is within the banner itself. So Jack's role is a heavy AoE melee damage dealer. So if you have access to any AoE melee damage dealers, and they're not actually resistant to ranged or magic either, so any decent AoE magic damage or damage dealer in general will fill in for Jack's role fairly well here. Of course, Jack's damage is on another level to some extent, so obviously you're not going to be able to clear it quite as quickly with a lot of damage dealers as you would with Jack. But if you wanted to bring somebody along like Vayne or Aranea, then they're going to do pretty damn well here. Leo will do well here, but bear in mind that while the Flutterjellies are charging up an attack while they're concentrating, they're actually immune to delay. Not rebreak, but delay, so just bear that in mind before you go in with any delay heavy characters. In place of Ramza, you're going to want anyone that has just a decent support kit. So anyone that can deal a decent amount of AoE damage, because once Ramza has his realization, his EX does actually pretty good AoE damage. So if you've got somebody like Hope, or even Pinello, somebody like that, then they're going to carry you very well. Rosa would work very well here as well. You want some level of healing in your party as well, though. So if you're not going to carry that within your offensive support character, then make sure you have a character that has access to healing within your party, because the enemies do like to do quite a lot of AoE Brave HP attacks, so just bear that in, keep it at the front of your mind whenever you're tackling this mission. There's no major gimmicks to this fight, they're just very strong enemies, but they do like to inflict quite a lot of debuffs, so alongside your sort of defensive or offensive supports, try to have some either debuff immunity, so somebody like Selphie or Lena. If you wanted to wait for a little while, we're very likely to get Lena's EX realization very soon, because they're going to take the place of Ignis for your debuff immunity, because they both ways like to throw out blind, speed down, turn rate down, and they like to really slow you down. So if you can counteract that either by having debuff immunity altogether, or by just being able to push those buffs off, because they're all unframed buffs, so you could use somebody like Hope or Pinello to just push those debuffs right off, and then that should equate pretty nicely. Now, the Krakens, like I said, they're not too big a deal. Like, I mean, there's a bit of a trend going at the moment where we've had to fight Liches, Maraliths, and now Krakens when it comes to some of these events. So just be careful of what they can do. Just be careful of the delays and speed downs and blind that they can inflict. And carrying heavy AoE damage is the name of the game, because the only actual damage dealer within the banner itself is Jack, and because Jack's damage is as high as it is, you're going to want to make up for that with, having a damage dealer that can, take the enemies out in a decent amount of time. But as long as you keep on top of the debuffs and you make sure that you don't get broken at any point, because that always spells doom in any chaos fight, then this should be okay for you. Just keep your damage high, keep your bravery high, and try to get sort of just some decent just speedy damage. Like, I probably plan to use Vayne here, but honestly, Gilgamesh actually wouldn't be the worst shout here because he has paralysis, he has AoE damage through the nose, he's got decent longevity. As long as you can battery him, he'd actually work quite well. So there's actually quite a lot of characters you could use here. I mean, I've seen clears of this where they use it solely Type 0 characters. So if you do happen to get Jack, you could always bring along either Sync or Rem or somebody, or Ace, anybody like that, and they'll actually function very well as well. So now we come to the part of the video where we talk about the characters that are on the banner and what I think of them and what I think of the kit or any improvements that are made to their kits. But before I do so, I do want to apologise for the lateness of this video coming out, as halfway through filming the video I actually had to go to hospital because I'd been having chest pains and things like that. But I did actually post on my community tab for my channel to let everyone know that this video was going to be a bit delayed because of that. Don't worry, as far as we know, I'm fine. I've had chest x-rays, I've had blood tests, I've had all sorts of things, and as far as we know, it's nothing to be particularly frightened of, so I'm actually fine. So let's just try and gloss past that. Nothing's going to stop me from bringing you guys content where I can possible. So let's talk about Ramza. So Ramza doesn't have a rework or anything, and the best things about Ramza and his kit are his offensive buffs that he provides the party, so Brave Regen, Max Brave Up, Attack Up, and his Shout buff that he gives to himself, which gives him eventually, after stacking it up to 3 times, an HP attack plus that is free turn, and it's a decent damaging attack. And it, like I said, the most important thing is that he basically just gets free turn after free turn after free turn. And then Innovate, which is his EX, is an ability that I've used very, very frequently up until this point, and I've always really enjoyed it. And it gives the target a framed debuff called Innovate that lowers their attack, defense, and speed. So all in one nice little debuff. So with a fast recast rate as well, it's something that happens very frequently. So, but because Ramza doesn't use his skills all that often, because with any luck he shouldn't need to, he needs to have a fast recast rate on his EX. But when you give him a book, and Ramza is a character that I did speak of with my Budget Heroes video, and the reason for that is because he actually gets a ton out of just using a book on him. So when he uses Innovate, or the plus variants of itself that he gets by putting ingots in, it increases his bravery, so he gains a load of bravery beforehand, and most importantly, without leaving the this does more damage part of the video, it deals 50% splash damage to non-targets and puts Innovate on all enemies. So this actually becomes an extremely potent AoE attack. And then when he uses Brave Attack plus or HP Attack plus, they become a lot stronger as well. And his Brave Attack plus also gets the benefit that his HP Attack does of not increasing the turn count, which is huge. And then when you do start putting ingots into him, his first ingot is useful because it extends the duration of his Shout buff. Now his Shout buff wants to be extended for as long as physically possible, just so that he can get as many of those HP Attack triple plus as possible. It's just a really important thing to have. And he also gains Innovate plus with any number of stacks of Shout, which basically makes it do more damage by having more Brave Overflow, and he gains more bravery when he does so, and his stats get raised pretty substantially as well. And then with 2 ingots, he starts with a level of both of the buffs that he starts the fight with, by using Shout and Galvanize, which is huge, because the problem that Ramza had wasn't really that big a problem to begin with, is that he had to get to 3 stacks of Shout before he could actually start spamming HP attacks, basically. So by starting with a level of that, and by having the duration extended, you're not having to use Shout nearly as frequently before you have to refresh his buffs. And then he also gets Innovate plus, which increases the amount of damage it deals not only to the main target, but to the splash damage targets as well. And then with 3 ingots, he gets 6 attack hits on his bravery count for Innovate instead of 2, which is actually pretty massive. And then he gets Innovate triple plus, which increases everything that he would have gotten already, and it also refunds any 30% of the damage that he dealt into his own bravery. So he refunds it, so it's just a completely safe attack to use, because you're not going to get broken after it very frequently at all. Ramza is amazing. He is really extraordinary at what he does. I've used Ramza for a very, very long time, even with just his base EX. As a matter of fact, he is a character that I have in Dimensions and Entropy 1, and that's the reason that I'm not going to be giving him ingots, because I like him where he is. But if you were to invest in Ramza, you would not be disappointed in the capabilities that he brings with him. There is so much going on. with his offensive buffs. Innovate makes your damage output higher, it reduces the speed and attack for a benefit as well, and it's all framed so he works well with other debuffers, he works well with other buffers, he works well in multiple dimensions and clears. He's just an all-round great character to have. So now let's take a look at the head of the banner, the man of the hour, Jack. Now Jack is an entirely new character, and at first glance, his kit is the simplest thing in the game. Like, Ninja Slice is a single target, brave HP attack, and Lightning Flash is an AoE, brave HP attack. So what makes them particularly special? Well, the thing that you're looking at on the screen here that's called Deliverance is triggered by pretty much everything that Jack does. So he gets an additional 4-hit brave HP attack, which gets stronger with the EX, that moves Jack's turn to the turn right before the enemy gets their turn. So we've seen this a lot in Noctis. So we call it, like, colloquially it's called Warp, where you just get your turn moved to right before theirs. But if you do one of your skills while you've got Warp and you get another one, then your turn just kind of repeats itself, and it ends up being a really nasty little chain. So if you've got this Deliverance triggering on literally everything that Jack does, you can imagine just how much damage you can churn out with just using his skills or his HP attack, as long as you're hitting a broken target or breaking a target. So if we have a look at his passives and his gear as well, basically all that they do is just make the attacks stronger, and they make the every ounce of strength buff that he gets, which is just a framed buff that gives him access to his brave and HP attack pluses and some more attack and max bravery. Basically the brave hits become stronger, the overflow becomes stronger, but the overflow on both of his skills is actually very high for this point in the game. But the thing you have to bear in mind with Jack is that he is a damage dealer, and that is it. He doesn't bring anything else to the party, so even with his 15 and 35, as you can see here, he doesn't gain an awful lot when it comes to them. He just gets more duration of the skills, he gets the attack speed slightly stronger. But when we start looking at his EX, things do change up a little bit for Jack. So Transience is a slightly slower recast rate, so it gets in 2 skill uses, 2.5, 2 to 3, something like that. You'll get to use Transience fairly regularly, and when you do, it's actually really scary. So it reduces Jack's HP to 1, which sounds terrible, but it's a 5-hit AoE brave HP attack, and this is just a base EX that deals 100% AoE damage to every target, which is fantastic. It also gives him a frame buff called Soul Harvest, which raises his evasion by 60%, so up there with Shadow and Edge and things like that, but also makes it so that he heals HP off of everything that he does, as long as he's doing HP damage. He gets like a drain effect on everything he does. So while he's like putting himself to 1, he can heal himself back up to anything. And then with Power Stones, he actually gets 1 turn of 100% evasion up, so that the turn that you use Transience, you're not in that much danger of dying, despite the fact that you're going to 1 HP. But when you start putting ingots into him, you get so much. If you're going for Jack, just put 3 ingots into him. Just do it. With the book, it just you get a lot of damage out of Transience, but also doesn't consume ability use on the next turn. When you're trying to chain loads of abilities to capitalize on Deliverance as much as you want, then you're going to want to make use of that, because not only do you get Deliverance off of his skills, you get them off of his HP and Brave Attack Plus as well, as long as you're attacking a broken target, so his turn just keeps repeating over and over and over again. And then 1 out of 3 ingots, just stat buffs, nothing special here. 2 out of 3, however, he starts with his buff so he doesn't have to use a skill straight away, and then he gets his EX at the beginning of the fight, which actually just makes it so that he just starts the ground running. He's just smacking things upside the head over and over and over again really quickly. He also gets Last Stand, so he can't die if an enemy would kill him from above 50% HP, which in combination with his evasion actually makes him very tanky as well. And then with 3 ingots as well, Transient then gets much stronger, because it becomes an 8-hit attack, which with 100% AoE damage is pretty spectacular. And then Deliverance also gets an extra 2 hits on top of it as well, which makes it like the hit count that comes out of Jack is actually really quite terrifying. So basically the way to look at him is like Noctis leveled up, but then he is simply a damage dealer. I will spoil the video for you now a little bit. I'm not going to be pulling for Jack, despite the fact that his damage is astronomical in comparison to pretty much everyone we have in the game right now, because damage is all he does. He doesn't bring anything else to the table, and therefore damage dealers are the most easily power crept units. So next month we'll have like Cloud of Darkness come out, and then the month after that we'll have Bursts start to come out, Trade before that as well. There's just a lot. Damage dealers are a dime a dozen, and therefore, while I think Jack's damage output is absolutely incredible, I have slight hesitations on him if you already happen to have Ramza. Obviously, with Ignis only having his 15 and his 35 CP weapons available and nothing new going for him, we're not going to discuss Ignis here, but before we go to take the verdict on this banner, we'll talk about artifacts quickly. Now, with Ramza, both of these characters are actually pretty much the same. The ones that you're going to want either Attack 108, Max Brave 330, because he's an offensive-based character, but Mighty Squire boost is also very good. It raises all of his stats by 5% as long as he started with max health at the beginning of the wave. So this counts for the first one as well. And then for Jack, you're pretty much going to want the same thing. You're going to want Attack 108, Max Brave 330, and his C50 passive, so positive swordsman boost. So it raises his Max Brave and his attack while he's got his main buffs active. So for both of these characters, you just want offensive pressure as much as possible. So now we come to the big question. Should you pull for Jack and Ramza? Now, this is a multi-tiered answer for me here. So if you're a new player and you don't have many characters at all, you go in on this banner. Jack is an exceptional damage dealer. Ramza is actually a very powerful support character and can function with his base EX, with his 0 out of 3, which is to book, and with 3 ingots, he is not a waste at all. He is really powerful. And Jack, you're just going to rinse through anything that doesn't resist melee damage. He just absolutely devours things at the moment. If you already have Ramza, and you don't, or if you kind of need like the characters, then you could throw tickets at this. But from my perspective, I already have Ramza, and I don't plan to ingot him because of where he is in my Dimensions End clears. And I do actually plan to, I've been streaming my re-clears of Dimensions End 1 through 9, so that I can then repost it all like onto YouTube as like a collection. And I'm quite happy with my Ramza with base EX in Dimensions End Entropy 1, so I don't plan to give an ingot or to give any ingots or a book to Ramza if I don't need to. And equally, because I have a large number of damage dealers, and because I feel that damage dealers are the most easily power crept units because every unit is going to get bigger numbers over the course of time, I think Jack is extraordinary, and I think he's really powerful right now. In a month's time or 2 months' time, he's going to fall off. He's going to be usable in Chaos until Chaos finishes. Pretty much 100%. He's actually only commonly used in one Dimensions End tier, which is 11. So there is that to bear in mind. If you need DE clears, if you need characters for Dimensions End, then this is a great banner. But when bursts and stuff come out, which isn't that far away, even before that, like June and July, we've got so many powerful characters that do so much more than just damage that I have hesitation when it comes to Jack. I am in no way saying that this is a bad banner. It's not. It's an incredibly strong banner. But there are reasons to save if you can. I personally would value Snow higher than Jack, purely because Snow tanks are quite rare. So you have like Zac, Galoof, Edge, and then Snow and Warrior of Light, and that's kind of it for the time being until we get Gladiolus or Walls Burst, like way further down the line. Jack is a damage dealer, and we have those at a dime a dozen, and we have characters that have support capabilities that can do large amounts of damage. So as I said earlier, when it came to the event itself, there are characters you could bring to this. You don't need to have Jack. Is he a great character? Absolutely. Is he a necessity? Depends on your situation. If you need a physical damage dealer, I mean, then go all in on him. He's gonna serve you very well until you're ready to pull for another character just to kind of one-up him. But there are characters around like Vayne, like Leo. There are melee damage dealers that do fulfill a very strong function in a similar way. They don't have the AoE output, however, that Jack does. So if you're after an AoE melee damage dealer, Jack is your guy. So that's going to be it for today's video. I do apologise for the lateness of it, as well as the fact that there's a very obvious discrepancy from the start of the video and then the latter half of the video where I've obviously come back from hospital and I wanted to like make sure I finish what I'm doing and make sure you guys get your video before Jack's banner hits, etc. I'm showing dedication to my art, basically. So yes, I will also be streaming tomorrow morning as well if you want to come and watch me like play through Jack's event. I probably won't be pulling for Jack. I might throw a few tickets at it. I would throw more at it, but I threw a very large number of tickets at Snow and didn't get him, so I now have to kind of be a bit more cautious about what I pull for, and therefore I won't be able to pull for Jack. But if you're wanting to come and watch the event being played through without him, then definitely come and check me out on Twitch tomorrow morning. And then that's going to be it from me. Thank you ever so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you all in the next video. Take care.